everybody hear me okay? I'm a singer, so I do know how to project my voice. Thank you so much for coming. Myself, I had to work a little hard to find this room, so I'm glad that you all found your way here. My name is Catherine McVicker. I'm the director and founder of MusicWorks International, and I've been working in the industry for over 30 years. I have booked all kinds of music. These days, my company is primarily an international company where we book shows mainly outside of North America. Last year we booked, or the year before last, we booked 643 shows in 57 countries. So we have a lot of knowledge about how the industry works, not only in the US, but in other places, and that's a whole nother situation. This course that I wrote was my pandemic project. Do we have any agents in the room? One agent, okay. He's taking notes for me. Yeah, I'm not. He's a little bit of pressure here. He's gonna know whether I'm saying the right things or not. How many artists do we have in the room? Terrific. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so this is my pandemic project. When you have an agency, and I'm sure Paz will agree with this, artists come and go. I mean, I've had the privilege of launching the touring careers of Nora Jones, Esperanza Spalding, Samara Joy, Richard Bona, Jason Moran. There's a whole bunch of people that I have worked with over the years, and I know that this system works because this is how I work. So when I wrote this course, which we also have a book, we only have 4 of these, but if you want to buy a book, you can. You can also get the book, as I say, on the QR code, or the course on the QR code in the back of the Mint, so please take mints. And so I was trying to think about, during the pandemic, when we couldn't book any shows, what's my value? As an agent, your value is primarily who you have on the roster. I mean, I was everybody's best friend when I had Nora Jones. That was super easy, right? She had 8 Grammys. It was like, yeah, it was fun time. But you know, she went to CAA, she went to a bigger agency, which is normal. A lot of people who really get up in the stratosphere and they decide they want to get into movies or something are going to go to William Morris or a bigger agency. But the true value I have is my experience and my knowledge. Nothing can change that. And so that's what prompted me to write this book and this course. I've sat in your seat. I'm a musician. I was a working musician for 13 years, so I understand the situation that you're in, but I think it's a lot different now. I'm going to talk about that. These are some folks that work for me. This is Eamon Laughlin. He works on our education program, and he also is our marketing manager. And this is Kaylee. And Kaylee is a working musician. She's actually a musician.
No, but there's elements of folk.
Elements of folk. Anyway, so Kaylee is a great asset. Well, both of these guys are great assets, but Kaylee is a working musician, and I think she's learned a lot about the industry from working with us. Exactly. So, my opinion, everything I say is the world according to me. Everybody has a different experience. Everybody has a different opinion. I think that with the collapse of the record companies, basically, I mean, they still exist, but they don't act the same way as they did when I first started in this industry. So there's more pressure and more need for musicians to understand the industry because you have to advocate for yourself, okay? So the record companies back in the day, when I first started, the first thing you wanted to get was manager, because a manager had access to the record companies. And if you got a record deal, they would give you an advance to make your record. They would do your distribution. They would do publicity. They would even do ad buys, co-op ad buys. They did a lot of things for the artists because they got their money back when they sold records. Okay, so that ecosystem doesn't exist anymore. But on the flip side, and the labels also had a lot of control over your content, your intellectual property, right? So these days, you have much more access to get your music out and to grow your own career than I ever had. So it's really important that we look at what the ecosystem is right now and try to figure out what can you do for yourself. As an agent, I have 12 people that work for me. I cannot take you on if the only thing you can do are door deals. I cannot take you on if your top fee is $1,500. I can't support my staff on that. So that kind of forces people to think about, well, maybe I really don't need an agency. Maybe I can use social media. Maybe I can use YouTube. Maybe I can do other things to get my music out there. So one of the things I want to do is I want to bring Eamon up to talk a little bit about the beginning of the course. The course is in six modules. And you also don't have to, take them in order. You can, if you already have all your assets together, then you can skip that chapter. Okay, I think I covered all that stuff. The one thing that we have a few cheat sheets here, although I've done this many times. But I think the great responsibility that you have for your career is, that's in your hands. I think that there's a lot of talented people who get so overwhelmed by what they need to do. We're all about making a plan. Let's make a plan. And we're going to tell you how to do that. So, Eamon.
Thank you, Catherine. As Catherine said, my name is Eamon Laughlin. I'm the Marketing and Creative Manager of Music Works International. And I also work a lot on Anyone Can Book a Gig, our education program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the first step of our course, if you do decide to take it, which we like to call taking inventory. The reason that we call it taking inventory is because we truly believe that if you're going to be a professional musician, you have to show up as a professional, and that means treating your career like a small business. That isn't to commodify your art, but at the end of the day, when you're booking a show with a promoter, it is a financial partnership you're going into. And so you need to show up the same way that you would start a bookshop or a coffee shop, and you need to know what you have as your product and what you have to offer to the world. And so the first thing we ask artists to do is sit down and self-evaluate. What have you played? What albums do you have? Do you have any formal training? And really put everything down on paper and try to figure out what you have to offer and how you describe it and pitch it to people. Because you probably know what your work means and how to pitch it, but when you have to put it in words, sometimes it gets hard to translate that creative asset into something that someone else can understand. And so the more time you spend writing it down, thinking about the right adjectives to use, the more you'll feel confident when you do have the opportunity to pitch yourself, you know what you're offering. And so the first thing, like I said, we have people do is self-evaluate, because to know where you want to go, you also need to know where you've been and where you are now. So once you've looked at what you have to offer, you look forward, and we like to have people do some goal setting. So like any business, you need some sort of business plan. And if you want to look to playing, for instance, a certain festival, or you want to do a tour in a new region you haven't developed, you can set your sights on that and then work backwards to figure out what you can do now to start making momentum towards that, so you don't feel like you're just shooting emails off in the dark and only taking what comes your way. So where would you like to be in a month, 3 months, a year? Really try to get some concrete examples down and then work backwards. To use the example I just said, if you want to play a certain festival, it might be good to try to book a smaller venue show in that region or in that city 6 months to a year ahead of time, so that when you do go to whatever presenter that you should have looked at and made a relationship before you're even trying to get booked at the festival, you have some hard data to go back to when you say, I played this club, we sold this many tickets, since then my social media or my streaming numbers have grown by this many %, and that gives you a lot more to go off of as a business professional, trying to make a partnership that works for both sides with the presenter, than just trying to pitch your project to them, because they get music all the time, and there's a lot of incredible artists out there. And the other thing is, success is different for everybody. And so you also need to know what you're trying to do so that you can make the right decisions. If you just want to support yourself financially, the types of gigs that you're going to be willing to go and take are probably going to be different than if you're really, truly trying to create art that resonates with people. You might play some corporate gigs at a hotel or some big parties or something on the side to try to make a little money to make your actual passion work, but you need to know what that success looks like. And so I want to invite anybody to share kind of what's a success look like for you as an artist. If anyone wants to share, what's your goal? when will you feel like, say at the end of 2026, you've had a successful year, where are you now?
I'll share.
Sure.
I've been playing local gigs in Nashville for 5 or 6 years, and I have a lot of traction there, and I've booked a few DIY tours. Oh, thanks. I'm not well connected to any venues throughout the country. I'm more connected to like house shows, and my trajectory that I'm hoping for is to be playing, to be a touring artist that people want to go see and want to pay for tickets for. And so I'm here to try to kind of break into the world of making money. That's it. But like my true goal is to be known for my art. It's just I guess a bigger audience is what I'm after more than money, but they gotta go.
Thank you.
So my band recently, we performed at the Montana Folk Festival. So our collective goal is to try to get to the Smithsonian, the whole outdoor Folk Festival.
Can you speak a little bit more loudly?
Oh, sure. So our band goes to play at the Smithsonian's Folklife Festival because we just recently did the sister festival at the Butte, Montana. So hopefully we could do that.
Maybe one more, yeah.
I can go since the microphone is passed to me. My husband Josh and I have a Celtic band. We just concluded our first year as full-time musicians. So our goal is to find more Celtic festivals, Highland Games in the nation. I think we're specifically wanting to get a better footing in North Carolina, places like Pennsylvania this year. So we're looking to travel out a bit more from Virginia, and also find those specifically Celtic, Irish, Scottish-oriented places.
Thank you for sharing. I just want to encourage all of you, keep those goals in mind and make a plan, because you're a professional at the end of the day, and if you have a business plan, you're going to feel like you're making momentum in a much more straightforward direction, and that's encouraging and can help you from getting discouraged when you're dealing with, just not being sure what's going to come next. So that's the first thing to teach. We also do have a free 2026 planning document that we put together that asks you some reflective questions on what you're trying to get out of the year. You can set some targets as far as show numbers at different size venues, different regions, and then there's a kind of accountability planner at the end, so you can check in every 3 months or so and look at your past 3 months and see what's been working, what hasn't worked for me, what can I change, to try to keep yourself on track towards that goal. Because if you do that, you're not just working like a musician, you're starting to work like an agent.
Where can we find that?
There's going to be a QR code at the end. We'll also be at booth 102. We have a print copy that you can take a look at if you're interested, and we have a QR code there. It is typable if you prefer to type into the PDF, but you can also print it and write into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, booth 102, and if you're looking at the map, anyone can book a gig. So I'm going to talk a little bit about artist materials based on a lot of the business cards and flyers that I've seen over the last few days. A lot of you have some really good stuff already, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. But you really want materials that convey who you are as a musician and as a group. Yes, you need a bio. Yes, you need some press shots, some videos if you can. But I am going to challenge you to try to push it to that next step and see, when you look at those materials, do you feel what it is like to see your show? Because I think I've heard from some promoters that what they really are trying to avoid is what they see online isn't what they get at the venue. And so really try to be true to yourself and try to express yourself in a way that is unique to your creative proposal. So I have a few examples here from artists that we manage at MusicWorks International. We do their booking. I want to point specifically to this one sheet that I put together for Grammy-winning pianist Sakai Curtis. I think, and maybe this is my personal opinion, but there's a lot of character in this. This is his album art from his Cube Love Lives album, and I blew it up and I used it as the one sheet so that it's not just a bio and some quotes. There's personality there, and when you see it, you start to understand who he is as an artist and his vision. And a lot of that is branding. And so having a consistent visual presence that matches with who you are as an artist is important, and a lot of that does take time to figure out. But it starts to become easier for people to understand who you are and what makes you unique, and that's going to be a lot more effective getting gigs than just talking about why you're passionate about your music, but why do you do what you do, what makes you unique. Try to put some personality in there. It's not always easy, but I think it goes a long way in making a difference, because your materials aren't just explaining who you are, but they also are your first pitch to people when they hear about you. If they come to your social media or your website, they see it probably before they read it. And so if you can start to convey who you are and what makes you unique in your artistic proposal to the world, that's going to start to have a consistent brand image. You can think about some artists that you love that are successful. You probably can start to picture what a tour poster looks like for them. They have certain elements that kind of match what their vibe is, and sometimes it's just little things, but if it's consistent, you start to build a brand around yourself that is recognizable, and people know this is something coming from you before they even look in detail. So I'm going to invite Catherine back up to talk a little bit about putting data into practice. She's going to talk about tour histories and the importance of that, and then she's also going to talk about negotiation a little bit and how to actually speak with promoters when you get the opportunity to present yourself.
Thanks, Eamon. Okay, so part of the plan that you need to put together, anybody in this room, is to have a tour history. How many people in the room have a tour history? Oh.
Does that mean, like, on our website, we need to show the gigs that we've done?
No, a tour history is basically a spreadsheet that looks like this, and you write down every place that you've played, the city, what your ticket price was, how many tickets you sold, and any kind of notes, like, don't want to play this club again, the piano stank. You know, things like that, or sold 40 CDs. This is a gold mine. We're talking business now. Think business, right? The music thing is great. The music thing is great. Everybody says to me when they want to come to my roster, they say, we have a great band. Well, you're supposed to be good, right? You're supposed to be good musicians. The question is, now you have to put your business hat on and say, how are we going to be able to do a successful gig with a full club and the promoter wants us back again? And this industry is all about making relationships. I am not a transactional agent. I don't want to sell you something. I want to build a relationship with you so that you want to work with us because we understand your perspective as a promoter and how I advocate for my artists. Okay, so this is a very important thing. You don't have to be adversarial with a promoter. You need to partner with them. So this is very important because when you keep track of where you've played, and say you played, I'm just going to make stuff up. Say you played at Snug Harbor in New Orleans, because since we're in New Orleans, and you sold out the club, and then you want to try to get onto, now we're making a big joke, New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. You have this information that you can go and say, we have played Snug Harbor 4 times, sold it out every time, and we also sold 200 CDs. You need that information. This is business information, so it's really critical to keep a tour history. The other thing we have is the aspirational places you want to play. And that's another tab on this spreadsheet. So if you think about, well, I really want to play the Chicago Jazz Festival, write that down, okay? Now how you, just like Eamon has already explained, how are you going to get into the Chicago Jazz Festival? Well, you got to play in Chicago, or you have to target that area so you start to build recognition of who you are so people will come and they will buy tickets and you have a successful event. So this is, and I also recommend that you do regional touring. People talk about, I want to tour the United States. The United States is huge. And if you're a developing musician, you want to do something that is going to keep more money in your pocket and less money in the airline's pocket, right? So if you can focus on, all right, I do pretty well in my town in Connecticut, the next step is to conquer New England. Where can you play in all the states in New England? Once you've got that, where can I play in the Mid-Atlantic? Once you've got that, Where can I play in the South or in the Midwest? And try to take it in chunks like that. It's much easier to focus a lot of publicity in a region than it is to spread it all over the country. You can also bring your own gear, which will put more money in your pocket because the promoter doesn't have to supply backline, which costs money. And you can also, you don't spend money to fly around. So it's really important to think in that way. So the aspirational sheet is kind of to help you make your plan. Eamon brought up, what is your definition of success? Some people's definition of success is to open for, Steely Dan or the Rolling Stones. Some people's definition of success is to be able to pay their bills. I'm in that category, right? And I think that you really need to be thinking all the time as to moving towards your goal to achieve the success that you want. And this is a marathon, it's not a race. So the tour history is extremely important. And before I take any artist on my roster, I want to see their tour history. How much money did you get paid? So if I go and talk to a buyer and I say, I need $4,000 for this artist, they say, well, they played a door deal last time. Why would I give you that money? So it's really helpful. It really shows that you're professional and you're working on the same level with a promoter. We also have in the course a lexicon. A lexicon. This is all the industry terms that are used. What's a cross-collateralized deal? What's a split point? What's a break-even? What's a hard ticket? What's a soft ticket? All of those things. You spend a lot of time, everybody in this room, trying to get confidence about being proficient on your instrument. Now you've got to get your business chops together. So that when you get on the phone with the promoter and he says, okay, well, I'll give you an 80-20. And you're feeling like, I don't want to ask what that is because it looks like I don't know what I'm a professional. But if you know what an 80-20 is, he's saying, I'll give you 80% of the receipts, ticket receipts, and I'll keep 20%. That's what he's talking about, or she's talking about. So these things are things that, I think you need to change the screen. This is for casual folks. I mean, welcome to my office. This is for you, and I have learned over many years of doing this, people get much more out of it if it's interactive. So please, we really encourage you to participate. So negotiation. Negotiation is one of the hardest things to master. As a musician, when I was booking myself, I was always trying to figure out what's the sweet spot. How much money can I get paid, or am I overquoting, right? Actually, as a professional now, I really don't give people quotes. I ask them, the first question should be, what's your ticket price? What's your capacity? Multiply the ticket price times the capacity, that's the gross potential. If you have a 100-seat club and your ticket price is $10, the whole gross potential is $1,000. Why are you going to ask for $1,500? They're losing money. There's also, I want to give you the difference between hard tickets and soft tickets. Soft ticket event, does anybody know what that is? Okay, a few people. A soft ticket event is a festival or a subsidized concert where people buy a ticket for a whole series. These things are great because this is counting on the brand of the festival or the venue. People are going to go. They always have great shows. I'm going to discover new things. These are very important to get. When you approach these kinds of soft ticket events, money is not going to be your objective. Exposure is your objective, okay? So if you can, I spend more time negotiating the slot than I do the money. If you're going to play at 2 o'clock in the morning at a festival where everybody's completely hammered, it's kind of like wasting that opportunity. I would rather play at 7 o'clock. I'd rather play at 9 o'clock when the whole audience is full. So that's a soft ticket event. A hard ticket event is when people are spending money, instead of going to the movies, they're going to buy a ticket to go to your show. Okay, so the way that I generally work is, first I look for the soft ticket events. Is there a festival I can get you on as an opening act? Is there something that we can do in a local event that does a series in the summer and they're just looking for great people to come and play? Then you need to go back and you need to start building your hard ticket audience. So if you go to the Chicago Jazz Festival and play there, you want to go back 6 months later and play a hard ticket show because you're building your audience, okay? Does anybody here have an electronic fan base? Super important. Build an electronic fan base. One of the ways you can do this is give things away to people. If you give them, it can be something real cheap. You can give them stickers. I'm from Boston, and one of the things that Aerosmith did, this is when I was in college, they used to give bumper stickers out. People would just slap them on their cars, and pretty soon, like, it's self-advertising, right? You can do things like that. You can do a pin, like I have for my company. There's different ways that you can do, if you give somebody something, or they have to go on your website to get something, you have their email address. You can't go and like start buying email addresses and stuff. That's not legal, especially it's not legal overseas. So try to build an electronic fan base. Here's an idea. It's kind of old school, but it is an idea for you. If you're going into a new market, but you know you have fans there, you can say to the promoter, I know I have 50 fans in Chicago. I have 50 people on my list. Now you're talking to this person, to the promoter, that you are able to bring in probably 50 people. Now you're a partner with them. As I say, I'm not a transactional type of person. I really encourage you to build relationships with promoters. When I was at Berklee College of Music, I would go to some of the places, and this is one of my fellow Berklee graduates. Do you remember Riles?
Yes.
Yes, so I went into Riles and got to know Jack very well. And then after I knew him, I would say, you know, I have a little band I'd really like to bring in. And this is where all the students wanted to play because it was like the hip jazz club. And I got like a 2-month gig there every week for 2 months, which was great. So you want to build relationships with people. I think that's very important. So you want to work in partnership with people. Okay. The first thing I would do before I call a venue, do your homework. Who plays at this venue? What are the ticket prices? I would also recommend that you also look on other artists' websites. See what they're doing. What does their website look like? What does their publicity look like? Where are they playing? Try to get information that's already out there and that will help you get ideas about what to do. You want to approach any outreach to a promoter from their perspective, right? These promoters, a lot of them have restaurants or bars, whatever. They're getting beer deliveries, they're getting, they're managing their staff. When you call up and talk to a promoter, you need to be prepared. Don't just call people up randomly. Okay, so I want to get a gig at Jack's Bar in Cincinnati. I call up the promoter and I say, oh, I noticed that you had so-and-so at your club and my band has a similar audience. And could I send you some information? What you want to do is respect the promoter's time. Respect the promoter's time. It's also very common when you're nervous to just do this huge word vomit at the promoter and tell them every single thing about you. And that's not necessary. You want to plant the seed so you can keep the conversation going. Every time you have a conversation with somebody, when can I call you back? How can I follow up? Do you prefer email? Should I stop by the club if it's local? Those kinds of things. And we already talked about the different kinds of deals. Okay, so we're going to do a mock negotiation, okay? I am the very mean club owner, and you are the ones trying to get gigs at my club. So who wants to do this with me? Should we do an example just to start? That's what I do with two microphones. I'll do it with Kaylee. I'll do it with Kaylee because Kaylee's a working musician. Okay. Hi, this is Jack's Club.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm really busy. Who's calling, please?
Hi, this is Kaylee Zerker. I have a band called The Womps from Portland, Maine, and I would love to discuss the possibility of playing a date at your venue.
What kind of music do you play?
We're primarily a jam band. We have a lot of Americana influences, rock, funk.
Do you have a record out? Is there anything like, tell me something about the music.
Our last record that we put out was in 2024 called Mad Science that you can find. I can send you a link if you would like to.
Yeah, you know what, they're actually, the staff's coming in now and I gotta open the box office. Okay, well listen, you can send me something and I'll see if I have any place I can put you in.
How can I get a hold of you? Through email or can I get you on the phone?
I do booking on Wednesdays between 3 and 5. Why don't you call me then? Who wants to take a stab at it? Don't be shy. Oh, come on, you guys. I'm trying to make this as friendly as possible. Yes?
I have a question. How often do you pick up the phone and call to get on a show? Because I think most of us do email, possibly text, social media.
That's a problem. That is a problem. Now, I know I'm old school here, but there is no
They don't answer the
nuance. There is no nuance in email. So what I would do if I want to play in a club, I would call the club and say, when does the talent buyer work on booking? And how does this person need to be contacted? Will they take an email? Can I call them? You want to find out what's going to fit for the promoter, not what's going to fit for you, okay? Some things that Kaylee left out. One of the things was, she didn't tell me who it was that was calling, first of all. And she also didn't let me know how far in advance I'm booking. Maybe I book a year in advance and I don't have any ability, so I'm not going to really have a long conversation with you. I kind of shut her off there, but I mean, people, you have to be really quick. You have to respect the promoter's time. And she did do the right thing by saying, how can I follow up? You always want to lead the conversation to the next thing. Another big no-no that you do not send me or any promoter an enormous email with 35 links. I don't even open those. That shows that you think that all I have to do all day is sit around and read your stuff. No. Send one link, if you're going to start by email, which you should really check it out before you do that. I mean, this is all about doing your homework before you call a promoter so that you can be successful.
Yes.
Question. A couple of years ago, I sent an email to a venue that just happens to be right around the corner from my house, and they only do a couple, 3 shows a year. It's run by a nonprofit. And about a week ago, they sent me an email that said, hey, would you like to, are you all available on one of these 3 dates? Tell us a little bit more about your band, which I did. And so now I'm in an email exchange and they get back to me when they get back to me. Do you recommend then saying, hey, could we talk by phone? Do you recommend that, or should I just keep it with email? It sounds like they want to book us.
Okay, the first thing is I would have gone to the venue. If it's around the corner from you, I would have gone to the venue and introduced myself.
It's not really a bar, it's like a public facility.
Oh, I see. It's not open all the time.
Special
Okay.
events.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really lucky. I probably get 300 emails a day. I mean, in the busy season, I might get 500. So, I mean, the email thing is, everybody's just so done with email. I mean, it's important. It's important. And when you do book a show, you want to make sure that everything is in writing. Okay? Kaylee's our master of contracts. She's going to talk about that. So let's get back. So I think that, if that's the best way to get in touch with people, that's fine. And
would you have said, could we talk by phone?
yes, I would have asked them, how can we talk about this? Because you want the conversation to continue. And the other reason, just one more thing, the other reason I don't tend to quote money to people is because if you ask for too much money, the conversation's over. I want to hear what, yeah, what's your ticket price and what's your capacity?
Sorry. My question is, so I submitted something to a club that I think my shit will do very well there, but they straight up said, oh, sorry, not interested at the time. I'm wondering what is a good, what's the word, probational period before I should go like, hey, interested again? Like, do you have any thoughts about that?
I do. And remember what I said is exposure is everything. You might want to call, if have they told you that they don't want to book you, or they said they don't have any dates available? I missed that part.
They say they're not interested at this time.
Okay,
It's also LA speak for fuck no.
okay. What you could do is you can remove all the risk for the promoters. Does everybody in the room understand why clubs have music in their restaurants and stuff?
To sell drinks.
To sell booze and to sell food, okay? So this music is an attraction to get people into the club. So I would probably call the guy back or the woman back and say, we would come in and do a door deal, and we can deliver 50 people in the audience because we have a following. Do it for free if you have to, but try to get that first step in the door so you can continue to build your audience. It's very important. And it's a step-by-step way. Generally, so I've already talked a little bit about negotiation. For festivals, you don't really negotiate the fee. Usually they have a set budget, there's different stages. They may have a set budget for each stage. And you're in competition with every Tom, Dick, and Sally who wants to get on that festival. So the more that you can be very professional and tell them that you're ready to go, the faster you get that deal. And then maybe you start to build your audience that way. You might have to stand up here a little bit.
That's okay, I can project. So for things like that, and they ask you what's your band fee, and it's a festival, like how do you answer that? Because if, like you said, if you quote too high, the conversation is over.
I would say that our fees range between $1,000 and $3,000. But we want to work with you, and we're very keen to play on your festival, so please tell us what your budget is.
What your
Get
budget
them
is.
to tell you.
Okay.
It's a much better way to go.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we've already covered how you really need to interact with the promoter and become a partner with them, right? And we've already talked about ticket prices and how to figure out what the gross potential is, okay? Does anybody here understand what a show budget is? Everybody knows what a show budget is? We have examples of it in the course. And so you have to understand what the costs are for the promoter before they even pay you, all right? So that's also a telling thing. Do they have backline in the club, or do they have to rent it? All of those kinds of things. There's a big difference between club shows and theater shows, because theaters cost a lot of money. Some of them are union, and so their expenses are much higher. Now, how are you going to make the transition from a club show to a theater show? Number one, you have to have built up enough of an audience that you have enough people to show up at a theater show. The way that I would get there as well is theater shows are more expensive. So you gradually try to raise your ticket price while you're playing the club. You go in and play the club the first time for $20. You have, a half a house. Then you go to $22. Then you go to $25. Then you go to $30. Each time you play, you're trying to educate your band, your audience that you love us. This is, that they should pay more money to see you so you can eventually get into a theater where people have seen you for $20. If you don't ever change your ticket price, they're not going to spend $40 to go see you. I'll just go see them at the bar for $20. You understand what I'm saying? So that's another thing. Does anybody have any, yes, sir?
I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and a lot of touring, like theater places, would hire a local band for a warm-up or do you see much of that anymore?
This is a difference. So the book that this course that we wrote is primarily, it can be used in any genre of music, but each genre of music has a different kind of set of rules and things. If you're going to be an opening act, are you talking about like a rock band kind of thing or something?
No, I was thinking more of folk,
Oh, okay. One of the things about an opening act that you guys need to understand is it's up to the headliner if they want an opening act. And so you need to call the promoter. I just explained this to Kaylee actually last night at dinner. You need to call the promoter and say, I would like to open for this band. Would you put me in touch with the manager, or can you ask the manager, can I send an email that you can forward to the manager? Okay? So number one, it's up to the artist. The second thing is, if you're going to open for another band, you want to have a real simple setup, because a headliner is not going to want to reset the entire stage, all the settings on the board. They're going to get the first sound check because they want to have enough time to make sure everything's right. You're going to get a mic check. So generally, you know, if you're a solo, a duo, a trio, something really simple, you have a better chance of doing an opening act than coming in with a quintet or a sextet. Can I answer your question? Okay, so so the negotiating thing does take a little bit, but I think the more that you can get somebody to engage in a conversation, be able to tell them what your Spotify numbers are or your social media numbers are. This is something that didn't exist when I was coming up. One of the things I was going to say to you when we were talking about how to get an electronic fan base, another thing you can do is, if you work with the promoter, you can say that everybody who buys a ticket to your show will get a free download. Now you capture their email address again. Or anybody who buys a ticket to your show is going to get, I don't know, a 5% discount or something like that. But that's another way that you can, people will always want to get stuff for free, right? One last thing I want to say before I turn the mic over to Kaylee to talk about the importance of contracts and riders. These are really important. A contract is a very thin protection from getting ripped off, okay? But you need to have everything in writing with everybody. The other thing I wanted to say, what was the other thing I wanted to say? No, maybe I'll let Kaylee talk. I'm going to drink some more coffee.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I work as the contract administrator at our company, MusicWorks International. So this is the part where, let's say you've gone through the negotiation process, everything went swimmingly, you have confirmed a show. Yay! Right? So now you need to make sure that you have all the details written up in a contract. So that means you have your date, you have your show time, how long you're playing, what the ticket price is, the address of the venue or the festival name if you have it, and then anything that the promoter is going to provide you. Maybe you got a hotel in the deal, maybe they're going to give you some dinner and some drinks, so you have that in your agreement. I would recommend, if you got a guarantee for your show, definitely have a payment schedule where you have a deposit and you have a balance date. So that will reinforce that the promoter is serious about booking you, so they will give you advance payment for your show. We recommend 2 months in advance. A lot of promoters do 1 month in advance. And then you have the promoter's company info, so their full address, tax ID if they have that, and the same thing for you, where you put your signatures. If there's anything I would like to impart on anyone who's like, oh my gosh, contracts are scary, contracts are weird, legalese, pieces of paper, I would say that first and foremost, contracts should be used as communication between you and the promoter, and to protect yourself as well. Communication and protection, it protects both of you, and just make sure that you guys are both on the same page. That's all it is, right? It doesn't have to be a scary thing. It's all just communication, so you both know exactly what's going on, especially before you walk in the door, because you don't want to be like, hey, so where's that dinner? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm not giving you dinner. So you don't want to have that conversation when you get there. Something else, so we call all those details that I outlined as part of a contract face. It's supposed to be very clear, very simple. What you attach to the contract face is your rider. So if the venue is able to provide backline, you can give them a list of things that you need in order. So, you know, you need a drum kit, maybe you need an upright bass, you need this kind of amp, and this is an opportunity for the promoter to tell you, we have that, that works, or we don't have that, let's see what we can work out to make this a good show for you. You can put, if they're providing any hospitality, you can put what kind of snacks you like, if you have any allergies, what kind of drinks you like, things like that. You also attach your stage plot, so you know where everyone is standing on the stage and what inputs you need for all your gear and your microphones. And some other clauses that are very, very important to have in your rider, a couple things, is a force majeure clause. Does anyone know what force majeure clauses are? Yeah, so it's basically a clause that states if there is an act of God where the show really cannot go on, right? Like someone dies, or you're sick, or something, or there's an epidemic, you know, that we've been through, right? And the show cannot go on, then no one is liable for anything. So everyone, the slate is clean, right? And another thing that was new to me when I came into this position at MusicWorks is a media rights clause. So your songs are your intellectual property, right? So if the venue, the promoter wants to broadcast your songs as part of promoting the shows on radio, you have a say of how many times your songs get played and how long they're going to run that airplay. Maybe a month, 3 months, a year, however long, you get a say in how that goes down. If they want to record your show in any way, audio or video, you get a say how that goes. Or you can say, I don't want that at all, right? So you put what you want in your media clause. Yes?
I got a question. I work in Germany, so I don't really know how it is in the States, but I'm looking to come over here. How's it with cancellation fees? Like if you're working with a company, for example, company events, and all of a sudden they cancel, I've had that in the past. So I use some kind of cancellation fee. It works with like 3-week, 9-week corridor that I get paid partially if it's not my fault if they cancel the contract. Is that a big thing too?
Yes, that is another great clause to have in your rider, is a cancellation clause. So in the case of force majeure, they might not be liable to pay you a certain amount of the fee that you agreed on. But if they cancel for any other reason outside of force majeure, typically what we see is either the promoter will pay the full fee, it depends on the situation, right? Or usually it's 50%. So you would work that out with the promoter. Yes?
Things that I would put in, I've been in civil litigation for like 25 years, and things that I think that you should be paying attention to in your contract. If there's a dispute in the contract, or decides.
Yeah, sorry. We can't hear very well.
Yeah, things that I would make sure were in any contract that I would clear out. If there was a dispute in the contract, the contract needs to be enforced. Where is it going to be enforced? If you're an artist out of Florida and you have to go to Washington State to enforce it, you're going to be really at an advantage, especially if they sue you. Is there binding arbitration? You have to go to arbitration. That's going to increase your expenses. And then the last part that I think you want to pay a lot of close attention to is whether there's an attorney fee provision in that contract. Because if the promoter decides to sue you, and you've got a one-way attorney fee provision, meaning the promoter can recover their fees, but you can't recover yours, you're in a world of hurt. contract dispute, it's not unusual to see the attorney fees in a case go over $100,000. So, you know, things I like to see is a mediation provision in the contract that says before you sue, you have to mediate, which is an informal way of resolving it. That saves a lot of money and a lot of heartache. But those are things I would pay a lot of attention to if I were, you know, on the contract.
Yes, those are all very good points. In our riders, which if you sign up for the course, we have a lot of example riders that you can use and download. And one of the clauses in those riders is the location of where mediation would take place. And this is especially important between states and between countries. Yes? Yeah, go for it.
I'm a promoter, and I would just add, please, if you're gonna get paid over $600, to include your W-9 in the contract. I don't wanna have to track it down. I want everything in the same document.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Add to that. Thank you for that. I'm a presenter also,
Yeah.
and please make it legible. Honestly, it's a big problem. You get a scan that's been rescanned and rescanned. It's not even readable. W-9s. I'd also say with respect to contracts, fairness is really important. I've seen some clauses that are way overreaching.
Can you speak up a little?
Oh yeah, I've seen clauses that are way overreaching from the performer side, from the artist side. Like I've seen a clause that we as presenter would be liable for any damage to equipment at any time during the artist's stay in our location. So if the guitar falls off the van, we would be liable because we changed that. And finally, I'd say on riders, be reasonable. This is for the performer. Please be reasonable. I've seen for $800, $1,200 performances. I want a mirror and 3 towels and a hot 2 pages of demands for comfort, and it's just tough to deal with when you're small.
And no green M&Ms.
Yes.
I've seen, I've taken riders from bands that are unknown, you just take the black marks from it, exit out, send it back to my beautiful hotel room, something to eat. Don't ask me for gluten-free, don't ask me for vegetarian, it's whatever they cook that night, you can get a hotel room. Not
Yes.
everybody, not today.
Right. Yes, exactly. Those are all great points. And, you know, this is supposed to build on your partnership with the promoter, right? You're building the communication between you and the partner. So, you know, exactly what these gentlemen and the lady in the back said. Be reasonable, be clear, be communicative with the promoter. Yes, and be okay if they have edits. That's all part of the communication. Yes?
Hi, so also from a booking standpoint, some of the major agencies are going to take out weather-related emergencies from a force majeure. They want to exclude a snowstorm.
Right.
You know, if the artist can't show up. As a nonprofit presenter, if there's a snowstorm and I'm liable for the whole guarantee, you know, that kind of screws up our whole season. Our rewrite is typically, you know, in the event of anything, weather or any force majeure, we'll simply renegotiate another appearance at a later date in good faith. And we've had to do that a couple times. But I just like to get a sense of what's the thinking besides like about why we can exclude the weather from that.
Okay, so this is, I can answer that question for you. If the promoter cancels a show, they have to give all the money back for the tickets that they sold. If they have the show go on and people don't show up, they keep the revenue anyway. I mean, that's just the way the business is, if they don't cancel the show. But 2 things I want to say really quickly is, you should always sign the contract after the promoter. Because if the promoter makes changes in there and you have signed it first, it looks like you're accepting the changes. So try to get through that part first. The second thing, as I said very early on, and thank you, Kay, that was a really good description of what to do. So always make sure that the promoter signs the contract first. And as far as deposits go, in final payments, It's written in all of our contracts that our artists have to be paid in full before they perform. You don't have a set of photographs. You don't have a vacuum cleaner. You don't have anything, any particular hard piece of equipment or anything that you can withhold if you don't get paid. Once a performance is done, it's gone. So you're not going to get paid. And what is the leverage with that? The leverage is the good faith that you have in the community. If you rip me off, I'm going to put it on my website that you ripped me off and let everybody else in the community know that, you know? Did you want to say something?
I have a question. So what do you want to see from a promoter to confirm payment on your end? Okay, I paid the artist, I pay like right before they perform. What additional sort of paperwork should be provided to them at that point? Signatures, that kind of thing.
Well, I think that the rider and the contract that we have is really pretty inclusive for all the things that Kaylee just described. If people sign that, they're pretty much obligated to, if a force majeure happens, you know, and you're also talking about building relationships with people, so someone's going to say, well, we'll reschedule, or that kind of thing. Did I answer your question?
I mean more like, let's say I write a check, and I know I wrote a check, and I have proof of that, and the artist said, oh, I never got a check. I need another check. Well, then I have to cancel a check. I have to pay $30, and I have to submit another one. That's kind of the piece of documentation that I'm curious about.
Well, I think when you agree on the equipment that you're going to provide for the show, and going to my friend in the front who's a promoter, Sean McDermott. You're, okay. I have 3 words. Don't be an asshole. You know? Don't be a jerk. You know, you're building relationships here. It's not transactional. And the thing, does anybody know about why they had green M&Ms in the thing? Does anybody understand what that was about? Because they wanted to make sure that people read the rider. That's right, that's a great thing. Anyway, we're getting kind of close to the end here. I'm going to have, if you guys can stay a few more minutes, we're going to have Eamon talk about marketing. We are in booth 102. We're friendly. If you want to come and talk to us, happy to talk to you. And please do check out the book. It really is a Bible. It has everything in there that you probably would need.
Are you selling the book at your booth?
We only have 4 copies left, but you can get it online as well.
Yeah, you can order it digitally. So it's online as a digital course. You get a year of access, including a community of everyone else taking the course. You can ask questions if you come across situations. If you buy the book, you just get the book, but it'll ship printed shipped to you. That makes sense.
Okay, so we can order that at the booth?
Yes, you can. If I'll have a QR code for the planner and our website at the last slide if you want to check out the website. Also, all of the Mint's QR code will take you to our website and you can find out more information. We are almost out of time. I want to touch on marketing very briefly with just some best practices and general principles. Catherine talked a little bit about building a fan database. You can have as many social media followers as you want, but you do not own those contacts. If, this is not going to happen, but if Instagram goes bankrupt tomorrow and the platform shuts down, you do not have those people, they might not find you again unless they're very loyal. When you have a database of emails, first of all, you own those contacts, you can contact them with whatever you want. And also, it's a pre-primed audience from a marketing perspective. These are people who have made the choice to sign up and give you their email because they want to see what you're doing, and they want to hear about you. And that's a much better, much more valuable contact than just an Instagram follower who might have come across you and liked one thing they saw, but they might not come see you if you're performing in their area. So we definitely emphasize having an email list still, despite the prevalence of social media, having those hard contacts is extremely valuable. And also partnering with the promoter to figure out what sort of work they are doing and how can you partner with them to augment that marketing. You don't want to be doubling down on the same thing, but if you have photos that you like, make sure that they have those materials, you're happy with them. Ask them what they are doing. Do they have a newsletter that they send out to a local list? Do they have a local press list if you want to try to get media coverage? Ask them what they're doing, and like everything else we talked about, it's a partnership and try to work together to get the word out to sell tickets, because the more tickets you sell, the better you both do. Are there any questions? No? Yes?
How valuable is it to have your own YouTube channel?
I think YouTube is incredibly valuable. I think after Google, it is still, I guess Google owns YouTube, but it is probably the second biggest search engine in the world. And video content is very valuable for promoters because it shows what you look like live. If you have good sound and you have good video, that's one of the most important things that you can invest in. With my own personal band, one of the best things we did was we hired videographers to record one of our bigger shows, so we had good material for social media, and we could also show what we actually look like on stage the next time we go. So personally, when I send out marketing emails to promoters all over the world for MusicWorks International, the number one most clicked thing in almost every single email I send is a video that I add from YouTube. They might read the bio, they might click to look at the page on our site for our artists, but mostly they want to see the video and hear it and see it because that's going to be representative of what they're bringing to their company. Yes?
We've even found that people are listening, they're listening to music on YouTube. And they may have premium or they may have the free version. We're getting a whole lot more hits on YouTube than even our social media. And I don't know if that's just full itself as a genre based on demographics. I don't know.
I'm not sure about genre, but I will say this is another general marketing principle. Show up on every platform, even if you don't think you're going to use it. Claim your name on TikTok so someone else doesn't, even if you're not going to be posting viral clips. It's there, and you can see what other people are doing, and maybe you'll get inspired. But you want to be there so that if someone searches for you, they can find you, and you don't go missing in the void of every other creator out there. Yes?
My question goes all the way back to the beginning when we were talking about collecting all the information.
Okay. I'm going to flip to this so people can scan while we're talking.
Yeah. How is that different than your artist?
In reference to like the self-evaluation?
Yeah.
I would say the self-evaluation is just for you. It's where you can reflect and be honest, and then you take the answers that you put down there and you use that to help craft a bio or artist statement that you're going to actually put out into the world. Does that make sense?
But that's different than your pitching statement.
Which part?
Like all your collection stuff, but that's different than what you're pitching.
Correct. That's more for you, so you start to understand how you want to phrase things, what you have to offer, and then you can look at that and pull parts of it when you put together a statement or a blurb for a project, if that makes sense. Yes, in the back.
Back to the email booking process, once you've established that contact or you're reaching out cold for the venue,
Sure.
is it better to send a single video or a playlist? Like for YouTube, you know, you're talking about sending videos. Is it
Yes.
better to send a playlist link or like your best video that you think?
What I will often do, and I think this still works, at least it works best for me, is you can, when you copy a YouTube link, and this is a little technical, if you go to a YouTube playlist and you copy the link of the first video, if the link says like index equals 1 at the end, that means that it is the first video in the playlist, and it will open the video in the playlist and just play the video, but it will autoplay the next one if they're still watching.
Okay.
So you're sending one video, but it's within the playlist.
Okay, rather than the link to the playlist.
Correct.
Which then they're like, well, what do I choose?
What do I
You've got
watch?
75 videos here.
Yeah, and if the video is long, you also can either cut it down or you can copy a link that starts at a certain moment in time that you want to show off. If there's, say, a club records something and there's 20 minutes of empty stage, dead air beforehand,
Right.
just send them what they're looking for because, like Catherine said, be respectful of time and try to get to the point if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, I think we are out of time here, but thank you so much for everyone being here. Please don't hire us. We have so many myths, and you can take a look at the book. We'll have these on the table, and we'll have a printout of the planner if you're interested. It's more of a self-reflective thing to set goals for yourself and be accountable and try to work forward with the plan. But thank you so much. And enjoy the